NFL free agency officially starts in a few hours, but the legal tampering period has come and gone, and a flurry of moves were made. So these players, just to clarify, they have intended to sign because you never know. We've seen Frank Gore. He was the shortest tenured Eagle of all time. Brendan Albert is here. I am Adrian Fedke. Let's get into it.
Yeah, this time really similar to college football recruiting. This is the verbal commitment time. Pen to paper obviously is a couple hours away. But, yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of names. A lot of guys start to put their names to verbal commitments and things like that, which really starts the domino process.
I think the big signing or intention to sign yesterday was Kirk Cousins. So 3 years, I think it was $84 million, all guaranteed. But I feel like it was a move the Vikings had to do. What do you think about that?
Absolutely. I think there's no question about this. I mean, when you look at that Vikings team, that's a team who played in the NFC Championship with bad quarterback. So obviously getting a quarterback, even if you're not a Kirk Cousins guy, I don't think anyone would really say that he's not an upgrade to what they've had in past years at the quarterback position. So even if you say Kirk Cousins isn't top 10, fine. He's probably top 16, though. I think most people would agree with that. So it automatically is an upgrade there. For the Vikings, you didn't have a single quarterback on your roster. You would be too late in the draft, and your team's too good for you to mortgage the franchise and try to move up and get a rookie quarterback and win right away. So Kirk Cousins, it's a slam dunk there. The big question there, Adrian, is do you love all the guaranteed money?
Yeah, but you had to give him the guaranteed money if you wanted to pluck him away from the other teams that were interested in him. And Cousins, on the other hand, Minnesota was the sexy destination because they're ready to win right now. The defense is in place. You got talent on offense, Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs. Dalvin Cook is going to be coming back. So everything is set for Kirk Cousins. And with Case Keenum, there's still a little bit of uncertainty because now opposing coordinators are going to have a whole offseason to study him. And I did see him get into some bad habits toward the end of the season. When you collapse that pocket, you don't let him escape it, and he starts to back foot some stuff. We saw Patrick Robinson go pick 6 in the NFC Championship game. So you have the uncertainty of Case Keenum. You know what you have in Kirk Cousins. No, he's not a top 10 quarterback, but he's definitely top 16, as you explained.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, you put that there with 2 really good receivers, a good tight end, a nice running back, an elite-level defense. Okay, the offensive line isn't great there in Minnesota, but you know what? In the back half of the first round, you look at guys like Isaiah Wynn, Will Hernandez. Those are going to be great guys that are plug-and-play guards right now in the NFL. So that offensive line is set to improve. Now, the big thing is about this deal is the guaranteed money. As I loved Doug Baldwin, who I would say, regardless of what you think about him politically, because he's very outspoken there, he's very intelligent. I mean, the guy went to Stanford, so he's doing some things right. So he came out and said Kirk Cousins is a hero for getting this contract fully guaranteed. This is, unfortunately, for a lot of GMs, what you didn't want to see. Matt Ryan's going to get a guaranteed contract now. Aaron Rodgers is going to get a guaranteed contract now. I wouldn't be surprised to see Aaron Donald of the Rams get a larger guaranteed. Todd Gurley eventually is going to get a larger guaranteed. This is going to be a domino to fall moving forward. So what I'm going to assume, I should say, is going to happen is players are going to start to take shorter deals, but in return, the money is going to be more guaranteed. If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm going to do a LeBron James situation. Hey, I'm going to sign a 2-year deal. The second year is a player option. It's going to be fully guaranteed. And if you don't rebuild the team to my exact needs, I'm going to opt out. I'm going to go somewhere else. This is very realistic. So for GMs, it puts you on the hot seat to make sure you are rebuilding now every single year. And now in the NFL, players are slowly going to get more power like we see in the NBA.
Yeah, the only thing to nitpick here, well, it's more than a nitpick, but the problem now is since you spent so much money on Kirk Cousins, well, now you can't re-sign some of those players that you drafted, like an Anthony Barr and guys that are going to have to get paid. Like Eric Kendricks is another one.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Those are 2 guys that are names down the road. Barr certainly is one. I think Kendricks is a replaceable dude. I don't think he's a guy that I'm really concerned about. On that defense, the guys I would really say, hey, we can't let them go. Harrison Smith, Xavier Rhodes, Barr. As long as you can lock those 3 up, that's 3 guys at 3 different spots that you can say we can get by with drafting defensive linemen, other backers, another corner opposite. I'm not too worried about the Vikings financially, defensively, moving forward.
I'm hearing Sam Bradford tore his ACL while he was waking up this morning. How in the hell is he continue to get contracts? $20 million?
Dude, unbelievable. And it's $15 million guaranteed, too, at that. I mean, it's a 1-year deal, sure, but it's $15 million guaranteed. The thing that still shocks me about this situation is A.J. McCarron still hasn't been signed. So Bradford's getting $20 million for a year, which we both know, Adrian, he's not going to play more than 10 games. In all likelihood, that's what he is. Eric Weddle, the Baltimore Ravens, came out and tweeted that this is the most a player is ever getting paid for doing nothing, and it's hard to argue with him there.
Yeah. And if you're the Cardinals, it's like, man, I don't know if they go draft a quarterback. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't – Sam Bradford. I know Larry Fitzgerald decided to play another year, and they're trying to win, so I guess they thought Sam Bradford was the guy. But, oh, man, they're going down in a hurry. Bruce Arians is gone, and now it's like, what are they doing?
I mean, here's the thing. Niners are better than them. Rams are significantly better than them. Yeah. I would still say Seattle's better than them. So you're still fourth in your own division. Personally, for me, if I was Arizona, I would have traded Larry Fitzgerald, and I would have said, look, you pick the team, we'll trade for you. Even if we only get like a 6th or 7th round pick, Larry Fitzgerald has absolutely earned that right to pick his destination, and the Cardinals need to fully rebuild. Aside from an elite-level running back, they have nothing on that offense there. And the tough thing for them is they're later in the first round. It's possible that all 4 quarterbacks are gone before they're at 10. And that offense has too many holes for them to say, let's mortgage the franchise and trade up, because they need those mid-round picks to really help the offense. Arizona is in that spot where they're in a no-win situation. So I would have just said, hey, Larry, we'll trade you. We're going to try to build an offense around a running back to get by and win 4 games a year, because that's really what that offense is capable of. It's a very good defense, but there's nothing on the offense.
I completely agree with you. They need to rebuild. They need to just start over, start fresh. They're going to be middling in 6-10, 7-9, 8-8 range for the next couple of years. They keep building the team like this. So I don't like the move. I don't like what they did. You know, I thought maybe they would try and go after Nick Foles, but that didn't happen. Yeah. And now it looks like Nick Foles isn't going anywhere because Buffalo made that trade with Cincinnati, and it looks like they're trying to go the Eagles route where they jump up in the draft, and they're going to try and jump up again. I think they're going to go after a quarterback. So it looks like Nick Foles is staying in Philly. Yeah,
I mean, really, when Kirk Cousins ended up signing there in Minnesota, I think that was the domino that unfortunately said, now, again, it's unfortunate in my mind because I'm a fan of trading Nick Foles. But if you were someone who wanted to keep Nick Foles, then you're thrilled that, you know, Kirk Cousins signed with Minnesota, because I would have said Minnesota would have traded for Cousins they would have traded for Nick Foles because they need a quarterback who can win right now. So when that happened, then we obviously see Tyrod Taylor in Cleveland. We see Buffalo making that move up, very similar to what the Eagles did several years ago. We see Arizona got kind of a scab quarterback there and Sam Bradford, and you still have A.J. McCarron out. Man, the market there for Nick Foles is very slim, especially after we saw Teddy Bridgewater sign with the Jets. So the market there for him is pretty slim. It looks like he's going to stay in Philly at this rate.
I'm looking at a free agency tracker here on CBSSports.com. Sammy Watkins got $48 million for 3 years.
The thing that surprised me about this deal, okay, Adrian?
Oh, shit.
Let me ask you this. Do you think Sammy Watkins is twice as good as Robert Wilson?
Albert Wilson, probably, because I'm not high on Albert Wilson, but I don't think Sammy Watkins is what he was drafted as. I think he's been very inconsistent. I don't think he's ever reached that potential that he was supposed to reach.
I mean, here's the thing. It's hard for me to believe that he's a number 1 receiver if 2 teams in the NFL have now said we're good. Buffalo said, no, we're good. The Rams said, no, we're good. It's hard for me to ever think you're a number 1 receiver. Flip side, if I want to be the positive person, he's 24 years old, 16 yards per reception, so he's a big player. You put him with Pat Mahomes. Okay, I mean, look, I see the upside, but it's a very similar situation as Bradford. I can't trust you to be healthy. So
Yeah.
it's hard for me to throw all that money at you. I don't love him. I mean, I don't think he's twice as good as Albert Wilson, which is what Albert Wilson ultimately got half. Kansas City said we will pay twice as much for Watkins, which I didn't love. And what surprised me more is he got less than Allen Robinson did.
Man, I see what Kansas City's trying to do because you said it, Patrick Mahomes, now you got Tyreek Hill, now you got Sammy Watkins, you got Travis Kelce. And defensively, they're declining really quickly because as we remember, this was a defensive team for like the last 5 years. It wasn't until last year that they became an offensive team because they're losing a lot of pieces. Tom Bahali got cut. Derek Johnson's a free agent. Marcus Peters got traded. They're losing pieces in a hurry, so they're trying to become an offensive juggernaut, I guess. But I think Sammy Watkins got too much money.
This has Andy Reid's fingerprints all over it. I mean, what he is doing is he is pretty much trying to rebuild what the Eagles were when they had Macklin, Deshaun Jackson, and then good running back situation, good quarterback situation. That's really what Andy Reid's trying to do, is he's trying to essentially duplicate it and do a little more of a college-style offense. I mean, maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. But the one thing I will say that I like what Kansas City has done is, aside from, obviously the signing of Sammy Watkins, they haven't really broken the bank for any player that I wouldn't say is worth it.
Yeah. Chicago. I sort of like some of the moves they're doing, trying to help out Mitchell Trubisky. Allen Robinson, 3 years, $42 million. They signed Trey Burton from the Eagles, 4 years, $32 million. So you got two weapons right there. I think Taylor Gabriel is underrated. He got a 4-year contract, doesn't say the amount here. So trying to build around Mitchell Trubisky in Chicago, I'm not hating it.
No, I mean, look, if you're Mitchell Trubisky, you went to bed one night thinking, man, my receivers are a bunch of garbage. Then you wake up and all of a sudden you have a number one receiver in Robinson. Trey Burton is a gadget guy. I don't – a lot of people think, hey, he could be a top 10 tight end. I think he's a Jordan Reed type of dude. I don't think he's ever going to be an elite level blocker, but you're not asking him to.
Yeah.
And then they went out and they got rid of Glennon, which everyone knew was going to happen. And they bring in another one of those clipboard-paying, highly paid guys in Chase Daniel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what Chicago's doing is all the right things. Now, they still sit really high in the draft, so now you could say, hey, let's go with a guy like Minka Fitzpatrick out of Alabama and secure our secondary. You could say, let's keep doubling down on the offense, get Quentin Nelson, because if I remember correctly, the Bears' offensive line coach is the former offensive line coach at Notre Dame. So that would make a ton of sense there. If you want to double down and keep building that offensive line, two really good running backs already. Look, that Bears offense is moving in the right direction. And as we've seen anything, Adrian, look what they've done with Carson. Look what they've done with Jared Goff. Get a rookie quarterback, keep building him, give him as many weapons as possible to elevate his game as soon as possible. I like what Chicago's doing.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if they can make a leap next year because their defense is kind of underrated. We saw their defense kind of let the offense hang around in games last year, but the offense just wasn't good enough to be able to overcome deficits. Well, now you got some weapons for Mitchell Trubisky. If he's not a flat-out bust, maybe the Bears can win 9-10 games next year. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, look, the way you got to keep this in mind is the reason the Packers slid was because Rodgers was hurt. So it's not necessarily like the Packers are a bad team. They've made some big moves too. I would certainly say Minnesota's not going anywhere. So those are not easy 4 games right there. There's no reason the Bears shouldn't beat the Lions and put 2 in the bag right there. And then, of course, once we see what the schedule comes out, I don't think it's a stretch to see the Bears go 8-8 this year, maybe even better.
Speaking of the Packers, they signed Jimmy Graham. Doesn't say the amount, but I'm hearing he might get $10 million a year. That seems like a lot for him. He's been kind of overrated for the last couple of years now.
Man, this is a brand new regime there in Green Bay. So historically, Green Bay has been that team who, when free agency started, didn't do anything. They just never did anything. Bring in a whole new front office. All of a sudden, you get a guy like Jimmy Graham. I see the upside in him. Look, I'm not going to knock it. I totally see the upside. You move on from Jordy Nelson. Okay, I guess I can see that as well. You re-sign Corey Lindsey, a very good center there for the Green Bay Packers. Doing a lot of the right things. Make sure they've also re-signed Devontae Adams earlier this year too. The Packers, as of last year, were the number 1 team in the NFL with the highest money spent in their receiving corps. They were like $10 million more than any team in the NFL. So obviously moving on from Nelson, bringing in, Graham, pretty much is a financial even point. I think it's still very likely they could bring Jordy Nelson back on a cap-friendly deal.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. The other move that they made, they signed Muhammad Wilkerson.
Yeah, more money.
Yes, yeah, more money for Muhammad. So it says 1 year, $8 million max. The other site that I saw, it was for $5 million. I guess it's kind of like a prove it deal. You got paid all that money, then you got lazy. Well, now you got to unlazy yourself.
That's why you're on the 1 year deal.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we've seen Mo early years in the Jets just be a flat out beast. He was a first round pick for a reason. Then he got lethargic. Now if I'm putting my glasses half full mindset on, he got lethargic. He's playing on the Jets and they're getting their butt kicked every single game. So it's hard to really be motivated. All right. But now you got to go somewhere and you got to prove it.
Yep. Who do you think was a loser yesterday? Who's making dumb decisions?
I know why you're asking this because I know what you're really saying here is you're really saying to me, how awful is what the Baltimore Ravens are doing? And Adrian, the truth is horrible. Just absolutely horrific. If you guys have seen my Twitter account, I am openly saying I am a free agent fan right now. I used to absolutely blindly trust Ozzie Newsome, but from what they did last year and what they're doing this year, man, that offense is being horrific. Ryan Grant, 4 years, $29 million for $15 million guaranteed. Why? I highly doubt there was a single offer out there like that. And the Ravens didn't trade for Jarvis Landry because they thought it was too much, didn't sign Allen Robinson, didn't even sign Sammy Watkins because I would have rather the Sammy Watkins deal than Ryan Grant because I at least can see the upside there. Okay, they got John Brown, a guy on a 1 year deal who can't stay healthy, but he's really good at running straight. Fine. Joe Flacco's good at throwing the ball really deep down the field, but you still need a true number one receiver. Ryan Grant, no thank you. The other team I think is doing really poorly right now is the Colts. The Colts have a ton of cap money, and they're not doing anything. So it really surprises me. I mean, the most exciting thing they did was re-sign Adam Vinatieri. Now, I think that could be a team who could potentially be in the mix for Jordy Nelson down the line. But Indianapolis, you have the money. You know free agency started. You guys are supposed to be doing things now.
Dude, you're not kidding because you go down this free agency tracker, Colts, no moves, nothing, nada. I'll give you another team too, the Miami Dolphins. Okay?
Yeah.
So they have the second least amount of cap space behind the Eagles. And how are they utilizing it? To sign Albert Wilson for 3 years, $24 million. Ew. Danny Amendola got $12 million for 2 years. He hasn't been able to stay on the field. Ew. Ew. What is Adam Gase doing as the GM in Miami? He's gotten too much power. I like him as a head coach, but he's starting to look like Chip Kelly here with the whole culture thing. We want culture guys. We want to get rid of the bad culture. I hate it.
I mean, the culture is spending money on guys who aren't that good. That's what the culture looks like it's being right now. So, yeah, Miami, another team, I'm kind of walking around scratching my head like, what are you doing? A team that I'm a little surprised about, Dallas Cowboys. And the reason I say that is Dallas historically is that team who wins the offseason and loses the regular season. Well, this year it looks like they're going to lose the offseason and lose the regular season. There's not much going on there in Dallas. I know they don't have a ton of cap money to play with, but the Cowboys, I have a higher pedigree because you look around, the Giants are getting better. The Redskins are pretty much staying the same. The Eagles are getting significantly better, and they just won a freaking Super Bowl. What are you doing, Dallas? You're doing nothing. So how am I ever supposed to believe Dallas is going to get better when all the guys in your neighborhood are getting better?
Yeah. Cleveland Browns. So they've made a flurry of moves. They also have the most cap space in the NFL heading into the offseason. They're utilizing it, but they haven't spent big yet. I'm sure they're going to spend big on Jarvis Landry when he gets his contract. So a move that they made today, Carlos Hyde, 3 years, $15 million. Made me scratch my head a little bit because I was initially like, okay, maybe they're not going to draft Saquon Barkley. But as we kind of talked about pre-show, all right, well, maybe it's a contract you can get out of quickly. But then I'm like, well, why did you even sign him to begin with? They've also acquired Terrence Mitchell, 3 years, $12 million. Chris Smith, defensive end, 3 years, $14 million. Donald Stevenson, 1 year, $2.5 million. Chris Hubbard, offensive tackle, 5 years, $37.5 million. He was kind of like a do-everything kind of offensive lineman for the Steelers. Darren Fells, 3 years, $12 million. So as you can see, a bunch of kind of little moves for them. Do you like what Cleveland's been doing?
Look, when you die, you can't take it with you. I mean, that's kind of what the new front office there in Cleveland is looking around. They're saying, look, we got a ton of money. We can't take it with us if we get fired one day, so why not blow it? So I respect what Cleveland's doing. So I get it. There's a couple moves I don't love, but when you have the money and you make 15 moves, you're not going to make 15 perfect moves. That's just rules of averages there. Yep. The one thing I will tell you, though, the trading for Tyrod Taylor and not signing A.J. McCarron is 100% a clear sign of who makes the decisions in Cleveland. That's 100% what that was. That 100% is a move where the new front office comes in and says, no, we run the ship. You guys are just the coaches. So that was kind of an ego move. I think I don't love it because I would have rather signed A.J. McCarron.
I agree. Why waste a third-round pick when you didn't have to?
Exactly, because, look, it didn't matter if you sign a guy or if you trade for one. These guys are going to be the Mike Glennon situation. 1 year, you draft a quarterback, and they're gone. So why would you trade for one and lose a pick when you can sign one, and even if the guy only plays 4 games, that's fine. Essentially, you traded a mid-round pick for Tyrod Taylor for 5 games, 6 games probably.
Yeah.
Don't love that. The rest of the stuff is fine. I have no problem with the Carlos Hyde signing. I haven't seen where the guaranteed out is or how much money is guaranteed. It's 3 years, $15 million. That's really not a lot.
Not a lot, no.
Duke Johnson, if I remember correctly, he's out next year. So the Browns could say maybe we don't want to invest heavily in a guy like Duke Johnson. So let's bring a guy like Carlos Hyde in now on a cap-friendly deal. We can bring Saquon Barkley in. And then you're essentially going to pay very little for a pretty damn good, nice running back situation, assuming Carlos Hyde, of course, stays healthy. But the rest of the stuff the Browns have done, Tyrod Taylor's fine. I am more of a Tyrod Taylor fan than people who aren't. I think he's a 16 to 20 quarterback, but he's a guy who can get you by until your rookie quarterback is ready to roll there. Chris Hubbard, though, is going to be a great fit here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland already had an awesome interior offensive line. They have a elite level left tackle as long as he doesn't retire there. Bringing in Chris Hubbard fixes the one thing Cleveland wasn't very good at the right tackle position. That's going to be a top 10, top 5 offensive line next year, Adrian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they've always had an underrated offensive line the last couple of years. They've been top 5, top 10, and they're going to remain that way. So, and obviously having a great offensive line, you bring in a rookie quarterback that helps him out tremendously. And that's why I like the Jarvis Landry signing, because he's going to be a safety valve for that rookie, because he's not a guy that runs more than like 10 yards. He's an underneath guy. He's going to work that. So I like the trade. Here's what I have to say to the people that are like, well, you got all these picks from recent years and now you want to trade for players. Well, here's what I got to say about that. They haven't been drafting well for the last 10 years. So they've been trading back, and then the players that they acquire via these picks haven't panned out. I mean, we've seen how many times they've struck out in the first round. So they're trying something new. I'm not going to hate it. We'll see what they do. I mean, they've won 1 freaking game the last 2 years.
Look, here's the truth. Are they going to be worse? No. It's okay. It's working. Let's not overthink this sometimes. Are they going to be worse? No. Okay, so you're doing the right things there in Cleveland. I mean, look at the offense there. Njoku looked really nice as a nice catching tight end, okay? Corey Coleman, I don't think he's ever going to be a stud, but if you say he's your third receiver, I'm okay with that. Josh Gordon, we know his upside's really high. The only thing that stops him is Josh Gordon.
Yeah.
And then Jarvis Landry. That's nice. Now you bring in, let's assume best case scenario, they draft Saquon, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, a top 5 to 10 offensive line. Suddenly, that Cleveland Browns offense is looking pretty damn good. Bold statement here. In the next 5 years, Cleveland Browns will have more wins than the Baltimore Ravens and more than the Cincinnati Bengals. Bold statement, but I really feel confident in it right now.
Yeah. Denver Broncos, they bring in Case Keenum, 2 years, $36 million. They might still draft a quarterback at 5, though, right?
Absolutely. I don't think there's any question that you don't draft a quarterback at 5. I think that's 100% still a guaranteed thing. You bring in Case Keenum, it's a cap-friendly deal. 2 years, $36 million. Let's say best case scenario, he looks awesome. Okay, then maybe you think about re-signing him and you trade the quarterback you drafted at 5 or vice versa. I think that's still a good situation there, but I mean, he's nothing more than Trevor Siemian 2.0. I don't think any of us really are able to say, oh, Case Keenum, because of what we saw last year, now he's a franchise quarterback. No, he's not. So I could see the Broncos 100% still taking the quarterback there. Aside from that, Broncos, the other biggest thing they did was they traded Aqib Talib. Okay, I mean, I get why they did it. It was probably time for them to move on and save some money there. I think the big reason they traded him, though, was so that they could have more money in the bank so they could go to Cousins and say, hey, we have a little more guaranteed money, and obviously didn't work. Yeah. But I'm not mad that they traded Aqib Talib.
Yeah. A franchise that I wanted to see do a little bit more at the wideout spot, the Jaguars. I feel like they re-signed Blake Bortles instead of giving Kirk Cousins money so they can, kind of get some weapons for him. Marquise Lee, 4 years, $38 million. They re-signed him, but they let Allen Robinson walk. Dante Moncrief does intend to sign. That's another move, but Moncrief without Andrew Luck didn't look as hot last year. Yeah. I like the Andrew Norwell signing. I think he's good. He's a good guard. Although I didn't realize he got $66.5 million. That's a lot of money. But Jacksonville, what do you think there?
Man, Jacksonville is very old school. I mean, when you look at their front office, you look at their coaching staff, it's very much, hey, let's build the foundation, interior, and then let's build it out. So when we look here, okay, I got some really cool stats I want to share about this. Last year, let's put this in comparison here. Last year, Eagles were 4th in the offensive line spending. They spent about 16% of their salary cap there on the offensive line, and they were 5th in the defensive line spending. Now, I use this in percentages here, guys, because I think it helps us show what are teams doing. So you have quarterbacks who are on rookie deals or on cap affordable deals, which Blake Bortles is still going to be pretty cap affordable when it's all said and done. But now you look at the flip side, Jaguars were 1st in what they spent on the defensive line last year, and they're probably going to be 1st in what they spend the offensive line moving forward. So the Jags are completely building it inside out. Offense, is just saying, hey, let's get a whole bunch of guys to kind of do stuff and keep us by on the receivers. Because to be honest with you, Blake Bortles isn't going to get them the ball anyway. So with that mindset, I kind of get it. And then you just keep building that offense around running the rock there, getting the defense on the field. I think the Jaguars are still a team who could draft Lamar Jackson there at the end of the 1st. But I think what they're doing is the right thing. That division isn't very good. The Colts still a laughingstock. I'm not 100% set on what Houston is. I know Watson's look great, but I'm not 100% confident in him. Tennessee took a massive slide down last year. Look, if it's not fixed, sometimes don't break it. And I think what Jacksonville has going for them, they should absolutely win their division again and could potentially make a deep run in the playoffs with that great defense they have.
San Francisco, I'm just kind of looking at them real quick. I like Weston Richburg. I think he's very underrated. I think that was a good signing. I don't know what the amount of money is there, though. 5-year contract for him. They signed Jerick McKinnon, 4 years, $30 million. Obviously, we know about the extension of Jimmy Garoppolo. And Richard Sherman brought in. So the Niners, could they potentially make a leap next year?
Oh, they will. I mean, because they have to. It's a Cleveland situation. You only can go up, from what the Niners have got. But, I mean, look, let's talk about the first thing they did. They brought in what looks like to be a future top 10 level quarterback for probably the 35th overall, 36th overall pick. It looks like something like that, Adrian. So right there, you're doing the right things, okay? So you're moving in the right directions. That was a franchise whose quarterback was always an issue. Great job. Richard Sherman, okay, yeah, maybe he's not the same dude he was before, but you know what? You bring in an alpha dog like that on a defense who has invested a lot in the front four, not great linebackers, pretty poor defensive backs. It's automatically an upgrade there.
Yep.
I like that. Jerick McKinnon is the signing. I'm just like, meh. I mean, look, he's a boomer bust player. I get it, but San Francisco's got a whole bunch of, we call them Jags, or just a guy and running back, just a whole bunch of average guys. They were a team I was pretty disappointed didn't make a splash move and go out and get Allen Robinson or Jarvis Landry. They really need help at the receiver position. They haven't done anything there. So vice versa, when we look at what the Bears are doing for their young quarterback, it's really what the Niners haven't been able to do as of yet.
Yeah, I'm with you at the wide receiver spot. They did extend Marquise Goodwin, but that's a whatever move. That's just the guy, as you like to say.
Yeah, just Jags.
yeah. McKinnon, I do like him, but I agree that you got a little bit too much money. I mean, that's $7.5 million a season. That's a lot for a guy that's like a scat back. So because you look at what the Titans did, and Deion Lewis is a scat back, he got 4 years, $20 million. So $5 million for a scat back compared to $7.5 million for a scat back. And also Titans, they bring in Malcolm Butler, and that's a lot of money. 5 years, $61 million. I get the connection with Mike Vrabel, and Butler has played with Logan Ryan before, but that's a lot of money for a guy that didn't even play in the Super Bowl. He sat because he stunk.
Adrian, I would be very much in the same mindset as you if you didn't mention that new head coach they got there too in Vrabel.
Yeah.
Right? So to me, that's where I'm like, okay, this guy probably knows him pretty well, so I will give them the benefit of that. Otherwise, I was 100% with you. I think the deal is a little too rich for me. But you look at those three corners, him, Ryan, and then Jackson, that's a nice three-corner tandem right there. They have a better front seven than most people give them credit for.
I agree with that.
Like that.
Yep.
I don't like the running back situation, though. I really don't like the Deion Lewis signing. The way I look at it is this is a deep running back class. You don't necessarily need to get a guy like Deion Lewis because you could go and draft a guy like Ronald Jones or Sony Michel or Royce Freeman or, Aiken Wadley from Iowa. There's a lot of running backs I could tell you that could probably do exactly what Deion Lewis is going to do, a guy who's maybe going to get 8 carries a game and 2 receptions. That's not enough for me to say, let's break the bank and pay for him. I don't really love the deal and what he got, that 4 years, $20 million. I mean, it's not a ton, but I would say you could go and draft and replace him because this guy you're just looking to be a 2 because whether you want to admit it or not, Derrick Henry is going to be the bell cow, at least for this year, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
The other move to go over, just one final thing. Paul Richardson got $40 million over 5 years. I was surprised to see that he got $8 million, considering he was injury-prone his first 3 years of his career. Didn't really do much of anything until this past season. So the Redskins, did they overpay for him?
Oh, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Look.
I was thinking he'd get like $5 to $6 million a year. And
yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he's another one of those guys. He's a one-trick pony. Yeah. Run straight, right? I mean, look, he was making things happen in Seattle because the ball was getting forced to him because aside from Doug Baldwin, there was no other real receiver there. Now, he's going to go to the Redskins where I still don't like Josh Doxson. I don't think he's a number 2 in the NFL. I think he's a 3 in the NFL. Terrell Pryor didn't have success there. You have Jordan Reed, who's always hurt. You have a new quarterback. I like Alex Smith, to be fair, but you have a new quarterback there. I just don't see how Paul Richardson can be successful in Washington. But, hey, go get your money, man. If someone's going to pay you it, go ahead and sign it. I'm cool with it. Good for you, Paul.
Because it's funny. We did like an Eagles free agency preview. And, we're like, all right, maybe Paul Richardson would be an option, like a cheap option. Then I see him getting fucking $40 million over 5 years.
Yeah, I'm good. Pass.
Yeah. So there you go. There's that. That's pretty much it. I mean, I don't know if you want to go over Eagles stuff. I mean, they didn't really do that much. I mean, Haloti Ngata, he's good for the rotation. Do you know anything about Corey Nelson?
Not much, but you know who I do know a lot about? Nigel Bradham, 5 years, $40 million, getting re-signed there in Philadelphia. That's an awesome signing. Yep, Nigel Bradham, they got him on a re-sign deal, 5 years, $40 million. Man, that's huge.
I love it.
Yep, you guys are getting a live reaction from Adrian here. I just told him that tomorrow's Christmas.
Dude, that's the guy I wanted to re-sign.
Yeah, I mean, that's a huge move. It's a huge move. That's what these trades were all for. That's what the killing of Cap was for. This was for Nigel. You got him for 5 years, $40 million, a guy who is clearly one of the better coverage guys. This all but spells the impending doom of Michael Kendrick. So if you have an Eagles Michael Kendrick jersey, sell it now while you still have some value in it because he's gone. I think a team like Atlanta could really benefit from him. I mean, there's a lot of teams who could look at Michael Kendricks. I think he's a guy who will be traded in the next 3 weeks. Of all the teams in the offseason, Howie Roseman's winning the offseason. He won the regular season. He's winning the offseason. Eagles, that win, that parade should just keep going, man, because this team is looking fantastic in the offseason.
Wow. How about that? All right. So we close the show there. And I am happy. I thought he was going to be gone for a second. And I agree with you. Kendricks could be a guy that's on the move, but we'll see, too, because if you trade Kendricks now, all of a sudden there's a lack of depth. And with Jordan Hicks being injury-prone, we'll see if that's a route that they'd be willing to go.
You know what, Adrian? Maybe this is something they do on draft night when they say, "Hey, we can get a quarterback at 1. We can get a linebacker at 1. You get a linebacker, then maybe you trade Kendricks right away, or maybe you trade Kendricks and that pick up to get a linebacker." That's probably the way I would go about it because I agree with you. You don't necessarily want to definitely make this trade unless you're 100% confident you can replace him. So I would do it maybe on draft night.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that's it. That's Brennan Albert. I am Adrian Fedke. I know you got to get back to work. So there we go. We're out of here. Peace.
Appreciate it, guys.